All right, so we're diving into Navy officer interview prep today, and we've got some really cool resources from RoleCatcher to help us out. They have this whole platform, designed to help people land their dream jobs, and we're going to break down their insights on how to prepare for this interview.
Yeah, it's like having a secret weapon,
Right.
especially when it comes to those interview questions that can really make or break you.
Exactly. And the best part, RoleCatcher even has AI that can help you tailor your answers and get feedback that's specifically designed for Navy officer roles. It's kind of like having a personal interview coach, but powered by AI. Pretty neat, huh?
Absolutely. But before we get into the questions themselves, let's take a step back and look at the big picture. Rollcatcher's Career Guide does a really good job of painting a picture of what a Navy officer actually does.
Okay. I'm all ears.
Mm.
What does a day in the life look like for a Navy officer?
Well, you wouldn't just be commanding missions. In both peacetime and conflict, think leading combat operations, aid missions, even those patrols that keep things calm around the world. You'd also be responsible for making sure your team is trained and ready for anything.
Wow. So high stakes.
Definitely high stakes, but also incredibly rewarding. And you'd even work with HQCSHR to plan for future needs. So it's not just about reacting to the present, it's about strategically thinking about the future of the Navy.
Okay, so now that we have a better idea of the role itself, let's tackle some of those interview questions.
Yep.
RoleCatcher gave us a good list of common questions that come up.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's start with a classic. What inspired you to become a Navy officer?
Yes. The motivation question. Seems simple enough, but it's really your chance to shine and show your passion.
Exactly. The interviewers want to see more than just a generic, I want to serve my country. They want to know what specific events or experiences made you want to join the Navy.
So tell a story that highlights your genuine interest in the Navy.
Right. Maybe you saw the Navy in action and were impressed. Or maybe you have a family member who served and they inspired you. Whatever it is. Share that story. But don't just describe what happened. Explain how it made you feel and what you learned from it.
And connect those experiences
Mm.
to the core values of the Navy, like honor, courage, and commitment.
Exactly. And be ready for follow-up questions like, how have your experiences prepared you for the challenges of this role?
Hmm.
They want to know how your past has shaped you and how it's prepared you to handle the demands of being a Navy officer.
So it's always good to have a few specific examples in mind that illustrate your skills and how those skills connect to the Navy officer role.
Got it.
What about question number 2?
RoleCatcher lists this one as, how do you prioritize and manage competing demands as a Navy officer?
Ooh, the time management question. I bet that comes up a lot, especially in a role where you're juggling so many responsibilities.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the key here is to be specific. Don't just say you're good at multitasking. Give them a real-life example of a time you had to handle multiple priorities in a high-pressure environment.
So maybe a project with tight deadlines, or an unexpected crisis that forced you to reprioritize your tasks.
Exactly. Walk them through your process. How did you figure out what was most important? What steps did you take to manage your time and resources? What systems did you use to stay organized?
It's almost like giving them a peek
Yeah,
into your brain and how you operate under pressure.
that's a great way to put it. And be prepared for those follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Like, can you describe a situation where you had to reprioritize tasks quickly? Because things change rapidly in the Navy, and they want to see that you can adapt and think on your feet.
Agility and adaptability.
Got it.
Okay, what's next? Question number 3.
All right, so this one's all about leadership. How do you motivate and inspire your team to achieve their goals?
Leadership is obviously a huge part of being a Navy officer. What are they looking for in an answer to this question?
They want to see your leadership style in action. So don't just tell them about your style, show them. Think of a time when you inspired your team to reach a difficult goal.
So choose a specific project or challenge that required strong teamwork and highlight the role you played in making it a success.
Exactly. What techniques did you use to keep your team motivated? How did you build trust and create a collaborative environment?
And I imagine you'd also want to mention how you adapt your leadership style to different people and different situations.
Right. It's all about showing them that you can tailor your approach based on the specific needs of your team and the situation at hand. And be ready for follow-up questions too, like, how do you give feedback to someone who isn't meeting expectations? Those tough conversations are a part of leadership, and they want to see that you can handle them professionally.
Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. It's all about using real-life examples to showcase your skills and experience in a way that feels genuine and relatable.
You got it. That brings us to question number 4. Which RoleCatcher phrases as, how do you handle conflict and difficult interpersonal situations as a Navy officer?
Okay, this one feels a little trickier. What's the best way to approach a question about conflict?
Well, the interviewer wants to know that you can stay professional under pressure. So focus on your approach to conflict resolution, not on avoiding conflict altogether.
Because conflict is inevitable,
Right?
especially in high-pressure situations like those you face in the Navy.
Right. So share a story about a time when you successfully navigated a conflict. Focus on the steps you took to understand different perspectives, to communicate effectively, and to find a solution that respected everyone involved.
So it's about highlighting those soft skills.
Mm-hmm.
Communication, empathy, problem solving.
Exactly. And be ready for follow-up questions like, describe a situation where you had to give someone difficult feedback. They want to see how you handle those tough conversations with grace and professionalism.
Okay, let's move on to question number 5.
This one is all about staying current. How do you stay up to date with the latest developments and trends in your field as a Navy officer?
This is a great question because the Navy is constantly evolving. With new technologies and new strategies, it's so important to show that you're committed to continuous learning.
Absolutely. Go beyond just saying you read industry journals or attend conferences. Talk about specific online forums you participate in, mentors you seek out, or courses you've taken to expand your knowledge.
Show them you're proactive about staying ahead of the curve.
Right, and connect it back to your work as a Navy officer. Give an example of a recent development you've incorporated into your practice, or a new skill you've learned.
So you can say something like, I recently learned about a new development in naval technology, and I'm looking at ways to implement it to improve our operational efficiency.
Perfect. That shows you're not just passively consuming information, but actively looking for ways to apply it, to make a real difference. And be prepared for follow-up questions like, can you give a specific example of a recent technological or strategic development you've integrated into your work? They want to see those concrete examples of how you're putting your knowledge into practice.
Got it. Okay, let's move on to question number 6.
All right, this one's about resilience. How do you handle stressful situations and maintain your composure as a Navy officer?
The stress question. It's a reality of the job. How do you convince them you can handle it?
Well, don't just say you're good at handling stress. Show them. Share a story about a time you faced a really stressful situation at work and how you managed to stay calm and focused.
So walk them through your thought process
Yeah,
and the actions you took to keep your cool.
exactly. And don't be afraid to talk about the techniques you use to manage stress outside of work, too, like exercise, mindfulness, or spending time with loved ones.
It shows you're proactive about your well-being, which is essential in a demanding role like this.
Right. And be prepared for follow-up questions like, how do you prevent burnout? Or how do you balance the demands of the job with your personal life? They want to see that you have healthy coping mechanisms and a balanced approach to life.
Okay, let's move on. Question number 7.
This one's particularly important for a leadership role. It's about ensuring your team is aligned with the Navy's mission and values. RoleCatcher phrases it like this. How do you ensure that your team is aligned with the mission and values of the Navy?
So it's not just about barking orders, it's about creating a shared sense of purpose.
Exactly. You need to be able to communicate the Navy's mission and values to your team and create a culture of unity and commitment.
Do you use storytelling to make it more relatable? Do you create opportunities for team members to share their own perspectives and see how their work contributes to the bigger picture?
Those are all great strategies. It's about fostering a sense of ownership and pride in being part of something larger than themselves.
And I imagine follow-up questions here might focus on how you handle situations where a team member's actions don't align with those values.
Right. They want to see that you can address those situations with empathy, but also with firmness, guiding your team members toward a shared understanding of what it means to be in the Navy.
Okay, so we've covered 7 questions so far, and I'm noticing a theme. It's not enough to just say you have these skills. You need to show them through concrete examples and stories.
Exactly. And that's where RoleCatcher's AI can be so helpful.
Oh, right. We haven't talked about that yet. Tell me more about how RoleCatcher's AI can help with interview prep.
Well, their AI platform can analyze your answers and give you personalized feedback based on the specific requirements of the Navy officer role you're going for.
So it's like having a virtual coach who can pinpoint areas where you can improve your answers.
Exactly. And their CV resume builder can help you identify any skill gaps you might have. So you're not just going into the interview blind. You're going in prepared and confident.
Okay. Before we move on to question number 8, I want to touch on RoleCatcher's career guides. I think those could be really helpful in crafting those stories and examples we've been talking about.
Absolutely. They have a wealth of information. That can help you understand the Navy officer role at different stages of the career path.
So you can tailor your answers to align with the specific skills and experience they're looking for.
Exactly. You can see what a successful Navy officer looks like at each stage of their career and use those insights to craft your responses.
Awesome. Okay, I'm ready for question number 8.
This one focuses on your ability to develop your team. How do you ensure that your team has the necessary skills and training to perform their duties effectively as a Navy officer?
So it's not just about identifying skill gaps. It's about having a plan to address them.
Exactly. They want to see that you're invested in your team's growth and that you take a proactive approach to training and development.
How do you convince them you're the right person for that?
Well, talk about the strategies you use to assess training needs, prioritize them, and ensure the training is effective. Maybe you conduct regular performance reviews, observe your team in action, or seek feedback from their peers.
And then you connect it back to the positive impact that training has had on your team's performance.
Right. Give them concrete examples of how your training initiatives led to improved skills and better outcomes. And be prepared for follow-up questions like, can you share an example of how you helped a team member develop a new skill? They want to see that you're not just a leader, but a developer of talent.
Okay, wow. I feel like we've covered so much ground already. We've broken down 8 key interview questions, talked about storytelling, and even touched on how RoleCatcher's AI and career guides can help you prepare.
We have. And in the next part, we'll delve even deeper into those RoleCatcher resources and explore how they can help you craft those compelling answers. That will really make you stand out.
I can't wait. This is already so helpful.
Welcome back to our deep dive on prepping for that Navy officer interview. We've already covered a lot of ground, from breaking down those common interview questions to highlighting the importance of using those real-life examples to show off your skills.
Yeah, I was really intrigued by what you said about RoleCatcher's career guides. They sound like they could be super helpful for anyone who wants to really understand what it means to be a Navy officer.
They're a fantastic resource, and not just for people starting out either. No matter where you are in your career, these guides can give you some really valuable insights.
Okay, so let's say someone is just starting out. What kind of information can they expect to find in the entry-level Navy officer guide?
Well, first off, you'll find a detailed breakdown of typical responsibilities for that level. We're talking assisting in command missions, supporting team training, participating in combat operations and aid missions, even contributing to those peacekeeping patrols that help keep things stable around the world.
So it gives you a really clear picture of what you'd actually be doing day to day. That's got to be helpful for anyone trying to figure out if this is the right path for them.
Exactly. And there's also an example profile of a hypothetical entry-level Navy officer. It's like a snapshot of what success looks like at that stage.
Okay, I'm curious. What does that profile look like?
Well, imagine someone dedicated and motivated, with a strong passion for serving their country. They've got some experience assisting in those command missions and supporting team training. They're skilled in combat operations, aid missions, and those peacekeeping patrols we mentioned.
Sounds like someone I'd want on my team.
Right. And they're also good at working with the HR department to help plan for future needs. That kind of forward thinking is essential in the Navy. Plus, they've got great leadership and communication skills, which allows them to work well with both team members and superiors.
And I noticed the profile mentions a bachelor's degree in naval science and certifications in basic first aid and CPR. Those are some solid credentials.
Absolutely. It shows they're committed to professional development, which is something the Navy really values. But beyond those specific qualifications, the profile also emphasizes a commitment to continuous learning and development, which is so important in a field that's always changing.
So it's not just about what you know now. It's about your willingness to keep learning and growing throughout your career.
Exactly. Now, let's say you've been in the Navy for a bit, and you're ready to move up to a junior Navy officer role. The career guides have you covered there too.
What kind of shift in responsibilities can you expect at that level?
Well, think leading command missions, supervising and mentoring your team, managing combat operations and aid missions, and conducting those peacekeeping patrols. It's definitely a step up in terms of leadership and responsibility, requiring more initiative and quick decision-making under pressure.
So the stakes get even higher. I'm guessing the example profile reflects that.
It does. The junior Navy officer profile describes someone who's proactive and results-driven, with a track record of leading missions and supervising team members. They've got experience managing those high-pressure operations, making sure objectives are met, and they're skilled at mentoring and supervising team members, helping them develop and reach their full potential.
Sounds like they're really hitting their stride at this point.
They are. They've also developed strong problem-solving and decision-making skills, which are crucial in those high-pressure moments. And they have a master's degree in naval science and are certified in tactical combat casualty care.
So they're not just relying on experience. They're continuing to learn and develop to stay at the top of their game.
Exactly, showing they're ready for even more responsibility as they move up the ranks.
This is fascinating. It's like getting a glimpse into the different stages of a Navy officer's career. Okay, so what about the mid-level Navy office guide? What can we expect from that?
At the mid-level, you're starting to take on more strategic responsibilities. Think commanding and leading missions in both peacetime and conflict, overseeing team training and development, coordinating and managing complex operations, even conducting strategic planning for peacekeeping activities.
That's a lot on your plate.
It is, but the example profile reflects that level of expertise. It describes a seasoned and accomplished mid-level Navy officer, someone who's proven their ability to command and lead in demanding situations. They've got experience overseeing team training, making sure everyone's performing at their best. They're skilled at coordinating and managing those complex combat operations and aid missions, consistently getting great results.
It's like they're playing chess with global events.
That's a great way to put it. They're also good at strategic planning, making sure resources are used well and missions are successful. And they have those top-notch leadership and organizational skills, allowing them to coordinate effectively with different teams and higher-ups.
And they have a doctorate degree in naval science and are certified in advanced navigation and ship handling. That's impressive.
It is. It really shows how important continuous learning and development is in this career. It's all about constantly expanding your knowledge and skills.
So you're never really done learning.
Never. There's always room to grow and push yourself further. Now let's move on to the top of the career path, the senior Navy officer. This is where all those years of experience and dedication come together.
This is where it all culminates.
Yeah.
What does that level of leadership look like?
At the senior level, you're still commanding and leading those high-stakes missions. But in even more diverse and complex environments, you're providing guidance and mentorship to your team, overseeing those complex operations, and even developing and implementing long-term plans for peacekeeping and security.
So you're not just thinking about the immediate mission, you're shaping the future of the Navy.
Exactly. And the example profile really shows what a visionary leader looks like at this level. It describes a highly accomplished senior Navy officer with a history of success in those high-stakes missions. They're known for their guidance and mentorship, and for creating a culture of excellence within their team.
It sounds like they're not just leading missions at this point. They're inspiring a whole new generation of Navy leaders.
That's a great way to put it. They have a wealth of experience overseeing those complex operations, always delivering outstanding results, and they're skilled at developing and implementing those long-term plans to ensure peace and security in their area.
It sounds like they've made a real impact.
They have, and of course they have top-tier leadership and communication skills, allowing them to work with everyone from junior officers to high-ranking officials. They also have an executive master's degree in naval science and are certified in crisis management and emergency response.
That's a truly inspiring example. It shows what's possible with hard work and a passion for serving your country.
It does. It highlights the amazing career path that's possible in the Navy. You can start at the entry level. And with dedication, continuous learning, and a drive to succeed, you can rise through the ranks and become a true leader.
These career guides are fantastic. I'm so impressed with how clearly they lay out the Navy officer role.
They're incredibly valuable, especially when you're preparing for an interview. By studying these guides, you can really understand what's expected of you at each level and tailor your answers to those specific requirements.
So instead of just saying, I'm a good leader, you can give concrete examples of how you've shown leadership at a level that matches the job you're applying for.
Exactly. And you can highlight your understanding of the Navy's mission values and priorities, which shows you're committed and that you see the bigger picture.
These career guides are a must-read for anyone serious about this career.
I completely agree. And don't forget, RoleCatcher has a bunch of other resources too, like interview guides, skills guides, and those AI-powered tools we talked about to help you practice and improve your answers.
It's like having a whole team of career coaches in your corner.
Exactly. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about how you can use all this information to craft those interview answers. That will really help you stand out.
Okay, let's do it. But we'll have to save that for part 3 of our deep dive. All right, so welcome back to our deep dive into prepping for a Navy officer interview. We've talked about the role itself, we've broken down those tough interview questions, and we've even uncovered some amazing resources from RoleCatcher.
Yeah, it's been a great journey so far, and now it's time to put it all together, to craft those answers that will make you shine in that interview.
Okay, I'm ready. Give me the secrets.
Well, first things first, remember to be yourself. The interviewers want to see the real you, not some rehearsed version reciting memorized answers.
So it's not about trying to fit into some perfect mold of what a Navy officer should be.
Exactly. Let your own personality and experiences come through. Embrace your individuality, your passion for serving your country, and those unique things that have shaped you as a leader.
But how do you balance that authenticity with professionalism?
That's where storytelling comes in. Instead of just listing your skills, weave them into a story that's engaging and shows those skills in action.
So make them feel like they're right there with you, experiencing those challenges and triumphs.
Exactly. Remember those interview questions we talked about? Each one is a chance to tell a story that highlights your strengths and shows how you align with the Navy's values.
Okay, so let's go back to that first question. What inspired you to become a Navy officer? How do you make that answer stand out?
Well, instead of just saying, I want to serve my country, think about a specific experience that sparked that desire in you.
Like maybe you saw the Navy providing aid after a natural disaster, or maybe you were inspired by a family member who served.
Exactly. Describe that scene, the sights, the sounds, how it made you feel, and then connect it to those core values of the Navy: honor, courage, commitment.
So you're not just giving an answer, you're sharing a part of yourself.
All right. And you can use that same approach for those other questions too, about leadership, teamwork, problem-solving, resilience. Always try to find a real-life example that shows off your skills and experiences in a way that's authentic and engaging.
And don't forget about those follow-up questions.
Absolutely. Those are your chance to go deeper, to show your analytical thinking, your ability to adapt, and your commitment to learning and growing.
Okay, this is making a lot of sense, but how do you know which stories to tell? It can be hard to choose from all your experiences.
That's where RoleCatcher's career guides come in. By really studying those guides, you can get a good understanding of the specific skills and experience that are most important for each stage of a Navy officer's career.
So you can tailor your stories to the job you're applying for.
Exactly. And don't forget about RoleCatcher's AI tools. They can help you identify any gaps in your skills and give you feedback on your answers.
It's like having a personalized career coach right in your pocket.
Exactly. So you've crafted your stories, you've practiced your delivery, and you're feeling confident. Now what?
Yeah. What are some final tips for the big day?
Well, first of all, remember to breathe. Take a deep breath and trust in all the preparation you've done.
I know it's easier said than done when you're nervous.
I know, but remember, the interviewers are just people. They want you to succeed. They want to see what you're capable of.
So be yourself. Let your personality shine through.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask questions. It shows you're engaged and interested.
Great advice. Any final thoughts?
The journey to becoming a Navy officer is challenging, but with the right preparation and mindset, and with resources like RoleCatcher, you can achieve your goals.
Well said. And to our listeners, no matter what career you're pursuing, remember that confidence is key. Believe in yourself, prepare thoroughly, and you can overcome any obstacle.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and best of luck on your journey.